Well, The Walking Dead season 8 ended, and I saw the whole survival night with The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead back to back, and it was pretty cool. We finally saw the end of the all-out war between Rick and his people and the Saviors and stuff, and I have to say, it was finally about time. There was some variations from the comics. I never read the comics per se, but I know of some parts of the comics. And by the way, if you haven't seen this yet, spoilers all over this video. So go back, watch the shows, and come right back. They did the whole thing with Rick slitting Negan's throat, and he had him at a moment. I didn't know whether or not at that moment he was going to die from it or not, but I remembered the comic book he didn't, that he spared him. Negan got spared. Maggie wasn't happy with it. The other thing about episode 16 of season 8 was Eugene's save. I mean, you know, there were a lot of predictions that exactly what was going to happen, and it did. So Eugene, he did right. He did right. We were all hating him for a while. We were thinking, oh, this guy's full-out savior now. Forget him. But it turned out that, you know, he was planning a trap.
It's a trap!
Now, I think the heart of this particular episode was Rick's honoring his dead son's Carl's wish to live in peace, to create a new world of how it was before. We kept on seeing images of Rick walking Carl, a younger Carl, in what looked like a farm, and you know, and that alluded to Carl's letter that he wrote to Rick, the previous episode before that, episode 15, where he talked about those walks when he was much younger. Rick made a decision. He made a decision to spare Negan's life. Maggie wasn't happy with that at all. She flipped out. Understandably. I mean, the guy killed her husband. He killed Glenn. We all loved Glenn. I don't know if you noticed also, though, the area where they were at kind of foreshadowed a prelude to the next threat to the communities in The Walking Dead, which will most likely show up in season 9 next year, which is the Whisperers. For those of you who don't know what the Whisperers are, they're a community of baddies that dress up in walker skin and flesh. So you don't know that they're alive really until they're upon you and they kill you, you know, the way they do. Even in the area where they had the final battle, there were, if you look at it, there's in the comic books there's a similar, you know, like there's a fencing there that seems to be Whisperer territory apparently. And Rick pointed out to everybody after Negan was put down that, you know, that was the threat out there, and he pointed to this huge herd of walkers that were in the distance. They were very far away, but they were so together. They almost seemed organized. I think those are the Whisperers, actually. You know, they're just too far away yet, but they're about to make their arrival. But Rick's speech about starting the new world, about how Negan is going to pay the way a criminal pays the price for his crimes. There's no death penalty here. He's going to spend the rest of his life in a prison cell. Chances are this is the same prison cell that Morgan created in Alexandria. And there are signs that they're going to rebuild Alexandria, actually, because we saw Father Gabriel, who's quite sight impaired at this point. Will he ever get his sight truly restored again? Who knows? I don't know. But he went into what was his church at Alexandria, and, you know, it's all burnt up. But, you know, I think there's some kind of hope in rebuilding. This is the beginning of civilization, the beginning of the return of it. And Rick and Michonne made clear to Negan as he laid in that bed at the end of the episode how he was going to play a role in that by watching it all happen in front of him from behind bars. But the part that really got everybody kind of like, oh snap, was Maggie. You know, Maggie understandably is upset that Glenn wasn't vindicated. That his death was not vindicated by Negan's death. But when we see her in that desk, in her office at the hilltop, talking to Jesus about how they're going to bide their time and they're going to wait it out and then they're going to show him. She was talking about Rick. And then when you see Daryl show up from the shadows, yeah, we're going to show him. I was like, oh, wow. What's this? A revolt? Is there going to be like an inner fight, a civil war over this piece of garbage who did all this terrible things to everybody, Negan? Now, here's the part that began the transition to Fear the Walking Dead, the other series, the sister series in the whole franchise. Morgan goes to the junkyard, finds Jadis, and tells her, go to the hilltop. Rick wants you there. He wants you to become part of the community to help rebuild. And I thought that was awesome, actually. I finally have some kind of, like, finally, Jadis, you know. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Jadis, it's Anne. But then what does Morgan do? He stays there. She's like, come on, let's go. And he's like, no, I'm going to stay here. I got to go find myself. He lives there for a certain amount of time. It could have been days, weeks, I don't know. But as we saw in the beginning of Fear the Walking Dead, we had Jesus come to talk to him. We had Carol come to talk to him. And we had finally Rick to come to talk to him to remind him, look, if it wasn't for you, Morgan, I wouldn't even be here because you were the one that saved me from the very beginning. You know, that was the story that everybody loved in the first season. And what does Morgan tell Rick? I'm not that person anymore. You know, he's really convinced of that. I disagree. You know what's kind of cool about that, though, if you think about it? Technically speaking, Rick, Carol, and Jesus were all guests on Fear the Walking Dead. I thought, you know, technically that's really what just happened there. You know, because the episode 16 of season 9 had already finished. So, what do we see in Fear the Walking Dead? Morgan decides to, what I like to call, the Forrest Gump. That's right. He went on a cross-country journey. He just faced west at that point, at that fork in the road there, and he just started running. Like, it was like, wow. Okay, I guess this is the beginning of it. So, he ran, and he walked. He drove. Whenever he could get his hands on a car that had gas in it, he drove. When the gas ran out or when the tire blew out, he would go. He would keep going. You know, he was by himself. He was on his own. And he wanted to stay on his own. Like, he felt like he couldn't be around people. He felt that would be the worst of it. You know, and I think that whole situation that happened with him, Rick, and the Saviors in that room, in that hideaway place, a couple of episodes back on Walking Dead, you know, was probably the thing that kind of finally drove him over the edge. He was there for the final battle. You know, he participated in that, but once it was over, he said, okay, I'm going to just back away from this. What saddens me is that these, you know, Carol and Rick, and they wanted him back. They really wanted him back at the community. So it must have really hurt them when they finally went back to the junkyard to, like, try to talk him into coming back with them again, that he had gone, that he had packed his stuff and he had disappeared. But then you see Morgan walking past. If you see it real quick, you see it. He walks past the sign. It's on the floor. Texas welcomes you. He got to Texas. Now, if you look at the map of the United States, that's quite a journey. That must have taken weeks. I would even dare say at least a month or so. Because, you know, I mean, with the cars, it was easier. I mean, you can pretty much get across, a state, depending on the size of the state, if I have to be technical about it. But you know, it wasn't like years. You know, it took a while. It did take a while. But he got to Texas. And who does he meet? This guy named John, who looks like a gunslinger, and he has a cool gun, you know, and he's looking for his love, who has a matching gun, right? And he's trying to find her, and he just doesn't want to be alone, so he reaches out to Morgan. He's like offering candy. He has a lot of candy and all that, and Morgan's like, no, gotta leave me alone. I gotta go find myself. They run into some bad guys, and then who saves them? This girl named Althea, or Al, as she likes to be called. She's in this big SWAT team armored truck with machine guns on the side. I was like, yeah, if you're in a zombie apocalypse, that's the kind of vehicle you want to be in. And as much as Morgan tried to get away from these people, he kept on like, come on, man, come with us, be with us. Let's take care of each other. You know, they were good people, it turned out. And Morgan didn't want that. He wanted to just be on his own. And I think what's happening is that Morgan's finally realizing that what Rick told him in the beginning of the first episode of, in the beginning of Fear the Walking Dead was that, you know, you're going to always find people and people are always going to find you. You're always going to be part of the world. Morgan, you can't shut yourself out like this forever. And then what happens at the very end scene? Oh yeah, there are our people from the West Coast from Fear the Walking Dead shows up. You know, they played them for a fool. Alicia is in the middle of the road pretending like she's hurt, and so they go check on her, and boom, it was a trap.
It's a trap!
Nick shows up. Strand shows up. I like Strand. Strand is cool. He talked like this. He has a very suave speech. But they capture Morgan and Al and John. And now what are they going to do? And what I like about this is that I like Al's character. She is not just somebody with a big armored truck. She's a journalist. She's recording the events of people that she comes across. She wants to know their story. Morgan tells her the story of Alexandria, of the kingdom, of the war with Negan. You know, like he reveals that. And I thought that was really cool because it makes such a real clear connection to the parent series. Now, having all said all that, let's talk about predictions. Yeah, what's going to happen in these two shows? Now, first of all, Fear the Walking Dead just started, so my Sunday nights are still going to be very busy. I'm very excited about that. I could get to still see my Fear. I get to see Morgan going through his stuff. I get to see Fear Talking Dead afterwards, you know, and they're going to still keep going through all those things they're going to go through. It's going to be amazing. I think my first prediction is that in The Walking Dead Season 9, Maggie's revolt against Rick, this whole I'm going to show him thing, is going to be minimal. It's not going to be this big. A lot of people are like, oh my God, it's going to be a civil war and infighting. You know, they're going to go against each other. I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think there's going to be a conflict. Yes, there's already conflict there. It's there. But I don't think it's going to be like this huge, like people are going to get killed because people are talking, oh, Maggie's going to become like the governor. No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think that, you know, this is minimal. And one of the reasons that it's going to be minimal is because the new threat of the Whisperers is going to come and bring things into perspective for all people accounted. Here's another prediction. Negan will escape the prison, his little jail cell. He's going to escape it. He's going to find a way out. I don't know how. I don't know what he does, but he loves to run. Have you noticed? Every time Rick shoots at him, he runs away. Every time somebody tries to get him, he runs away. So I think Negan's escape, and which happens in the comics also, and it's going to play in also with the Whisperers angle that's going to happen. So I think it's mixed in with that, but Negan is going to play a part. Keep in mind, the Sanctuary still exists. Rick spared the remaining saviors to go back and rebuild and make a good community like them, like the Hilltop, like Alexandria, so we can all live in harmony. My last prediction is from Fear the Walking Dead. And to be honest with you, I don't think this prediction I'm going to make is going to happen in this season per se. It probably won't. It may not happen at all. I think this is something that Ralph would like to see happen eventually at some point, which is, okay, we know that in Fear, based on the previews, that Madison, Nick, Alicia, Strand, they created a community housed inside a stadium, a baseball stadium, I think. And they're living there. And they've been living there for the last 2 years. Remember, this has been a time jump from Season 3, because Season 3, the events from the beginning of Season 1 of Fear the Walking Dead to Season 3 has literally been only just a few months. So they have this small community there. Morgan's going to obviously join them at some point. It's going to work out along with Al and John, and hopefully they'll be around for a while because I like their characters. I really like these new people these new additions to the Fear the Walking Dead universe. But my real prediction is that they're gonna lose that stadium. A lot of people are gonna die. They're gonna lose it, and Morgan is gonna probably do the unimaginable. He's gonna tell Madison and the rest of the crew of Fear the Walking Dead, come back with me, back east. Yeah, I really believe that eventually that's gonna happen. Madison will meet Rick and the crew, and Nick and all these people, and they're all gonna combine. And let me tell you something, that's a force to be reckoned with. Nobody will be able to mess with them. They'll be so strong, so united that, you know, this whole craziness of survival of the fittest that Dale was like raving about in season 2, and how it's a harsh world and all, that's gonna end. And I think it takes somebody like a cop and a guidance counselor to maybe bring all of that back. You know, bring back the real world. Bring back the new world. Do it for Coral. I enjoyed the series. I enjoyed the I'm gonna, you know, a lot of people think that this show is already going down the toilet. A lot of people don't like it. Don't like the direction it's going, the decisions that have been made towards it. I get that. But you know what? I'm here for the long haul. I'm just gonna, if the ship goes down, I'm gonna go down with the ship. I'm gonna go down with the ship. I'm just gonna roll with it. And I love Fear. Fear the Walking Dead is awesome. In the beginning, I was bored as hell. But it's amazing what has transpired. And hey, here's a question, and nobody's brought this up as far as I know. What happened to Daniel? Did he die in that damn thing that happened at the end of the season 3? Did he not make that, or did he make it? Is he part of that community? Did he go off and be by himself? You know, we don't know. We're gonna find out. So, what are your thoughts about The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead and the crossover that happened this past Sunday? Talk to me. Comment below and share with me what you think about The Walking Dead universe. Ralph Perez from Strange Planet. Take care.